Firstly, thank you for having me here, and again, a fantastic start to the event. I believe it's third year in a row. So again, thank you for that. Very relevant in terms of topic choice, right? Because the conversation also graduates at a time scale, and I think this is a fantastic and opportune time to both focus and deliberate on value and valuation as well. So that way, for sure, a very, very relevant topic. Fantastic co-panelists, great to hear, great to deliberate, hear their thoughts as well. And I also must say, like, a very engaging audience. The kind of questions which came up during the panel conversation was a reflection that the audience is quite engaging. Yeah, I'm so glad that you are using value and valuation, because many a times it comes across as value or valuation. So at the onset itself, it's a false binary to create. So it's not like value and valuations are two different sides of the fulcrum. The way I'll put it is like the cause and effect have to be like very, very clear. Like, you create value, you create a certain degree of validation of the value which you're creating, and therefore the translation of it into valuation. I must also admit, maybe there was a time period, maybe 2021 or a little prior to that, where possibly in some cases, maybe the ecosystem was putting the cart ahead of the horse. But by and large, at this juncture, given a lot of focus on the first principles, given a lot of focus back into actually looking into the total value chain of whichever fintech and FS business people are in. So I think a lot of rewiring has happened to focus on creating the right value, creating a certain degree of validation on the value which is being created, and therefore translation of it into valuation. Right. Sure. I think for sure regulation is good, and the focus on regulation is good, because then people and the entire ecosystem will have a lot of trust factor around it. The more and more adjacency, the more and more intervention which happens from a regulatory landscape, the investors, the consumers, and the players, they all get benefited. The players get benefited by virtue of having clarity directionally. Investors get benefited to see that, okay, there is less volatility in terms of how regulation is going to pan out, and the consumer for sure from that aspect of trust. So a regulatory intervention is that way helpful. Even in the digital lending space, there is therefore a lot of focus on regulated entities, a lot of focus on building that right kind of taxonomy, so people have a fair understanding of what's the rules of the game and directionally how it is going to be. Things have also progressed towards a lot of dialogue driven regulation, so which is also a sign of maturity of the fintech space. So net basis, it has really helped. And to the point on rewiring also from regulations, I think the leaders, founders in the fintech space, they do appreciate for sure, and for sure now, that regulation is for the guardrails, not as speed bumps. No, absolutely. We are fantastically poised. We are poised fantastically for two reasons. One is we have come out of the nascency, but at the same time, the opportunity and the headroom around the opportunity and the market is immense. So coming out of nascency means there is a lot of maturity how people are addressing towards the service, products, and the customer experience part of it. But again, as I said, the good news is there is a lot of headroom. Now, when you put 2 plus 2 there, and if you think of the next horizon of like 3, 5, 7, and beyond that, one good news also about fintech is there is a genre of financial services, which means like this will possibly not be a winner take all market. This entire fintech space has a huge wide spectrum, right? On one side of it, you have possibly players which are a lot more oriented towards the erstwhile and the core DNA of an FS, where there is an aspect of capital intensive intervention coming in play. On the other side, maybe players which are more on the discovery and the distribution side, where the tech place comes on heavily. But on a net basis, if you see overall, and there will be multiple players, great headroom and in terms of opportunity, and that overall industry coming out of nascency. So next 5-7 years, fantastic opportunity. You talk about any service in financial services, it will be led by digital means, and therefore there's no two doubt about it.